Pardon me. Salute to Moe Dee, legendary rapper, one of the pioneers, as they say. Um, I'm not. I don't even need to go down the list of accolades. But if you know, you know. And if you don't know, maybe you learn a little thing or two. But famously known, if you don't know, for rocking those black shades. To this day, some people don't know what his eyes look like. But anyway, we're not here to talk about his musical abilities or accliments. We're here to talk about a hot take that he has, and not only that he has, but he's lived by. He did an interview somewhat recently, and the caption there is, Moe Dee explains why he deliberately refused to have children. Let's play it, and I want to know what you guys think.
No,
Okay.
intentionally.
And you did. And why?
I did not want, and this is from childhood. And I said one thing that people don't pay attention to my opinion. In poverty, the boy and the girl is pitted against each other. We're attracted to each other while simultaneously being pitted against each other. The girl definitely wants to have children, and the boy definitely does not want to actually go broke trying to have a child, whatever. So a lot of times, you want to have sex, but you don't want to be a man yet. You want to grow up like a boy, but you still want to have sex. The girl wants to have sex, and I've been in this situation lots of times. She wants to have sex with me because she's a little girl, but she wants to be pregnant. I'm like, I'm not trying to have babies. So I had that mentality from very early. And I used to always say back in the day when I was younger, I needed a woman to be a girl to think beyond her maternal instinct. Just like a boy has to think beyond his youthful carnal instinct, quite frankly. Because a lot of times we thinking, oh, I want to get it, I want to get it. But if you understand what comes with getting it, then you think differently about it. You have to grow up to realize the consequences that come with that. And again, when a girl gets pregnant, you have no right over what she does with her body. So if she wants to have a baby, you have a baby whether you want it or not. So I was very aware of that very young. That was what kept me off it from the very beginning. So I was not ready to have a child when I didn't want to have a child. I didn't want to have that extended to the older age because I just didn't trust very easily either way. And having you make a decision for me, like having a child, was a very frustrating concept for me to grasp and come up with when I was younger. We're pit against each other because of poverty. And the poverty circumstance is dictating more the decision for me than the actual carnal lust situation. I needed a girl to think beyond her maternal instinct.
That's different.
Man, Lorenzo, I can't wait till I'm in a space where I'm interviewing brothers. Uh, and my first encounter of like when somebody breaks something down and you don't know what to say, you just hit them with, "Oh, dang, that's deep," or "That's different."
Yeah, that's crazy.
Man, so to that brother, and so again, so to Kumadi. But yeah, this clip of the interview gained some attention because, as we may or may not know, like it says in the like it says in the post, Kumade is now 62 years old. So he's definitely a brother that's lived a very experienced life, and he's came from the bottom as he's speaking about coming from poverty, and effectively kind of speaking about, I think, getting down to the crux of it. If someone were to kind of give the TLDR of what he's saying, he from a early age understood the dynamic of lust and how sometimes we interact with one another in a way that we don't necessarily think about the outcome of it, and also the fact that he doesn't necessarily like the element of when you do interact with a woman or a person, and in that way, you as a man, you effectively in the United States, you effectively have little to no control over what the outcome. If they want to have a child, the child's coming. If they don't want to have a child, then depending on the state you're in, they can get rid of that. So yeah, and to be honest, what's interesting? Even though he is a older brother, and it's interesting that he's had this view for a while. I think this is actually a more modern view that a lot of younger brothers would have. Just kind of, as the continual culture war of the sexes continues on, a lot of guys are starting to not necessarily like I feel like they are in control of their own I guess you can do destiny as pertains to uh, child production and having responsibility for that child if they don't want to be involved with that. So it's kind of interesting that an older brother would have had this view, but you know I guess we have to brush into that conversation and kind of breaking this down. But I guess at a base level, what do y'all think of uh, Moe Dee's take on why he, and I guess I don't know if he would impart this on others, but why somebody would deliberately refuse to have children? Do you, to any extent, agree with the logic, or does it sound like effectively like living in fear, like the lack of trust for finding a partner? What do y'all think? I will start with who we starting this morning. Start with you, Wes. What do you think?
Uh, it sounds like you might be traumatized. I'm not sure what uh
Oh,
what exactly.
don't hit him with the who hurt you.
I mean, because okay, you said when you're young, you don't want to have a kid and you don't want to have a negative financial impact and you don't want to lose the control. Well, lose not necessarily control, but not I guess not have the degree of control over your life and how it goes. Okay, he's no longer young. I don't think he's poor.
Definitely not poor. He's
So
very established.
at the end of the day, I think he's just carrying the feelings that he had when he was young with him. I mean, and that's a choice. Maybe he still, I mean, still doesn't want to have kids. He's 62. I guess not. But yeah, I mean, I think saying that you don't want to have a kid and have a negative financial outcome from it for the kid, for the mother, or for you, I think that makes sense. I think saying that you don't want to be taken advantage of in your relationship and with concerns and concerning having a kid makes sense, and I think you should be on guard for that as well. But if you find a person to marry and you both decide that you can have kids, I don't see why you wouldn't. I don't think he said anything about that. I think he just didn't want kids after a certain point of having a mentality that he did for so long. Maybe. I think that's what I got.
Which I think a lot of people get, but I think he's kind of specifically mentioned the element of some of it has carried on from his thoughts when he was younger, and obviously in a more in a state of poverty. But I think one thing that is still true is like again when you enter in that interaction, you effectively don't have the highest level of control over it, and
Yeah, no.
I think we can all
Yeah, yeah.
I think we can all understand the concept of like it's kind of Harry Carey putting yourself in a position that you have responsibility for, but you don't necessarily have control over. Or at least
Yeah, yeah, no.
at least in the initial conception.
Yeah, no,
Not
I get that, and I get what he's saying, but at a certain point you have to. I mean, at a certain point, if you want a certain thing, like if he did want to have kids, for example, but he was still holding on to this mindset from youth, and he doesn't want to be taken advantage of, and et cetera, et cetera. At a certain point, you have to yield. Like you have to choose the right person as best you
Facts.
can, but you also have to yield your worry and take a risk, because if there's no risk, then it's a predetermined situation. It's a controlled situation, and the person probably doesn't love you. The person, you're probably not doing things for the right reason. Like if there's no risk, then it's probably not voluntary. So, I mean, unless you're just gonna say we're gonna agree to have a child and not be together, and we're gonna raise a child in some weird non family setting. I said weird. I guess was
Oh,
the like a
are you
new
recommending that he gets a contract?
new I mean, like, yeah, if he's gonna arrange some new thing, like, I guess, people non-traditional type of thing and co-parent, this type of words they throw around. If that's his choice, I guess it's a possibility. But if you want to raise a child with a family the way it's been done for a long, long, long time, um, then you gotta yield. You gotta yield and understand the risk you're taking. And yes, you might be taken advantage of. Yes, you might be hurt. Yes, you might be all these things. But that's life at a certain point. But you gotta make that calculation, that risk. judgment.
Yeah. I'm rolling. Um, how about you, Ghost? What do you think of what the brother had to say? Do you maybe agree? Do you think he's kind of just scared? What do you think?
Uh, Before I give my answer, I'm just curious because you had mentioned something just to get clarification. When you said control or lack of control, I'm I'm just trying to understand what aspect of it you mean. Like the way you said it kind of implied that there wouldn't be any control in a situation when woman has kids.
Well,
So are you
obviously people can the way they rationalize your level of control is can vary wildly. Like some people would make the case that men in the United States have like zero control over who gets born and who doesn't. Obviously, the truth is more akin to there's you obviously control who, like where you chose to interact with, and what level of vetting you did for that. But just simply put, like if you right now were to get a woman pregnant, the choice of how that if that baby's being born is not necessarily within your
okay? That's
grasp
what you mean.
unless you do
All
something illegal.
right. I guess, yeah, in my mind, not to get on this tangent too quick,
I
but
think.
I
Ooh, I was gonna
I
make a dark joke. Sorry.
I kind of want to hear what it would be, but just I just find it interesting that I think you're correct in that like in the US is really at this point, given like how things are progressing in society, there's not a whole lot of choice. Like once again a woman is pregnant, then before it would it was a lot more socially acceptable to pressure her into making the decision that you were interested in, and now it's not. I'll leave it at that. But I don't doesn't that whole discussion of control, like I kind of feel like it should be moot after you get with the woman in the first place. Just the way I look at it, but I think
Uh,
that's the biggest aspect of control. Like you can control whether or not you sleep with her and avoid any issues of pregnancy scares and all that
oh, that's
after the
his
fact
point.
anyways.
I think that's partially his point. I think he's still having intercourse with women, but I think part of his point is make sure you're all protected and you're not caught out like caught slipping. Like I think that's his
Man,
point. I don't know if he's saying abstain. Yeah, I don't know if he goes that far. It doesn't. I wouldn't
okay.
guess that, uh, but he's more on the side of don't. Maybe I don't even know if is does he have a partner, a wife? I don't know what his situation is, but he's on the side of caution as things are these days, short of abstinence. I think that's what it seems like.
Okay, because my take. I'm kind of just. I was a little confused as to like what he's even saying because I, I think you articulated it a little better, but I'm on your wavelength that it seems like this is kind of born out of maybe not trauma, but being stuck in a very certain particular mindset from when you're younger and then being afraid to break out of that because all the issues that he brought up with his main hangups on pregnancy and all that and childbearing kind of can be controlled and in or I say control, but when he was younger, didn't have the money, blah blah blah, the systemic way that people push for pregnancy versus non-pregnancy, like he can like kind of control what he's the woman he's with, and sounds like he got a lot of money now, and he wouldn't really like to worry about that stuff, but he's just stuck in that mind frame. I'm kind of on with you on that. Like I'm honestly like I'm kind of confused. I don't even really know what he's truly saying, which isn't much of a
We know it's
isn't much
different.
of a bold take, but I don't know. I'm looking at the comments on Instagram, and one comment says, "Well, articulate the one right below that. This listening didn't say shit. So I'm kind of with the second comment. I don't really have anything productive to say in that. I guess if we're just breaking it out of his specific take and just kind of speaking generally, I 100% understand his hangups with having children because that's something that I've been very cognizant of and cautious of like my entire life in that I definitely want to have kids, but I do not want to feel like I'm trapped in having kids, which is a dilemma that a lot of men face. So on that aspect, in that wavelength, I can understand it. But at some point, I feel like if you meet a woman and she's that woman you're gonna be with for the rest of your life, Lord willing, you have to, you kind of have to branch out and take that chance. And if you don't, I don't know. It feels like it is kind of rooted in fear. Like I don't know his situation. I don't know if he's even married now, if he has a partner, or what the deal is. But
There's nothing to suggest he's married.
okay, that's kind of the vibe that I'm on. But the last thing I'll say is that like this whole thing of control and feeling like you're trapped. Like at the end of the day, you do have the ultimate decision, in that am I gonna sleep with this woman or am I not gonna sleep with this woman? Birth control aside, Plan B aside, all this abortion aside, like that at the end of the day is something that every man and woman has control over outside of very
Men don't have control over
uncomfortable circumstances. But yes,
men don't have necessarily control over those things. Some of those things you mentioned.
what do you mean?
I mean, to be honest, to be fair, to be uber fair, I think in the upcoming year there will be prescribed and or over the counter birth control for males.
Oh, Plan
But
D. You know?
Plan B is wild, but
No.
you can't.
What I'm
you
saying,
can't-
Quest.
there's no control that a man has whether a woman takes any of those
Yeah.
steps after they are pregnant or once.
Yeah, what I guess I should be
rapidly.
clearer. You really you cannot. You're right. You can't control anything beyond the initial act. Like you
Yes.
can go for condoms, but condom doesn't work. Blah blah blah. Like I'm saying anything beyond that is up in the air. But the one thing you can control, and is the most important thing to control, is if you sleep with a woman in the first place. That's what I'm saying, and that is
Correct.
every man and woman has 100% control over that part, the very first step, which is the most important. So beyond that, we're kind of, I don't say it's a moot point, but you wouldn't have to worry about it if you didn't take that step in the first place, which might be the point that Moe Dee's making. I kind of
Yes.
don't know. Again,
Some brothers take that to the first extent, and they live like a very monk-esque lifestyle.
yeah, which I don't know.
If he
maybe
said that, it
he's-
would make more sense.
yeah, but it's kind of up in the air if he's actually abstaining or if he's just very cautious about.
Well, I mean, if
the
you heard him when
interactions
he was
he does
talking,
have.
he says like he still acknowledges that men do have a desire for a certain thing. So, what about you, Ace? Do you have any other words for this conversation surrounding? Does this sound like a rational take, or is it? Do you think it does stem from some level of fear?
I pretty much echo Ghost and West in that just from the standpoint of not wanting to get into a situation, particularly before you're ready, not wanting to have kids before you're ready, and the whole discussion around not having control. I get it, but yeah, just like they said, or like we seem to be concluding, eventually you should get to the point where, I mean, what if you're courting women, there's got to be one that it could work out with. He's older, so I can't see being as old as he is and not having found a woman where it could have worked with. But yeah, we don't know yeah, how many women he's been with or whatever. So, or if he's, abstaining or anything like that. So it's hard to say, but I didn't get that impression from this interview.
Oh, that's part of this interview. Yeah, we truly don't know what goes on in certain people's lives to know how they're engaging with their ideals. This one's definitely, again, a controversial take, but one that I think, for better or for worse, and I think it's predominantly worse, there's a growing sentiment of, a lot of focus on a lot of males don't like that dynamic of like they don't feel like they have a certain level of control. But I think largely what you were saying, Wes, applies to this situation, a lot of situations in life. You have to take that calculated like risk. You have to do your proper vetting, your proper due diligence to understand what makes sense for you in your life, and yeah, once you make those once you do your proper pre work, you typically can make it. You typically can find something that suits you. And to be honest, when we talk about risk, this is applicable to like a lot of things in life. Like we're talking about like a literal artist, like that was at the beginning stages of like a genre. Like how much risk was involved, when you're putting yourself out there, and like talking to like labels and things of that nature to make something work. And obviously, people could say, that risk is is more so in your control because you're the main one that's being affected by it, opposed to if you're interacting with like a family based decision. There's multiple people that are involved with that, so there are definitely arguments you can make against it or to combat it. But I think a lot of things, multiple things in life come with risk, and that doesn't necessarily stop us as people from proceeding forward. I definitely hope that everyone finds situations that make sense for them, and yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like he's miserable, so I don't even. I hope he's content with his decisions, but salute to Kool regardless. Oh yeah, there's nothing else. We can move on to the next topic.